They laughed at us, mocked us, called us insane. They called us retards, but what they did not know is we are indeed retards, proud retards. We are the artists, the Renaissance. We came to fight, and we shall win! Fuck the hedges, fuck the media. GM me to the fucking moon. Sending my best regards to all my fellow artists and retards who hopped up in the rocket just hoping that they could see Mars. Flew past the moon in February and beat odds. Came back to Earth to refuel, it's time to see stars. Bots infiltrated the thread, tried to instill fear, but we like the stock a lot, that's why we're still here. My parents said sell it, my girl said sell it. I think they just jealous, I'm about to make a mill here. GME back from the dead, it's a poltergeist type of stock to pop 100% overnight. Robin Hood shut it down once and now we going twice. Diamond hands hold it so strong I almost broke the mic. If you dip then we taking off without you. Buy the dip saying fuck them if they doubt you. If you didn't learn already you about to. Hedge funds about to lose some deep fucking value. Fuck Citadel, tell Melvin to go to hell. Paper hands Portnoy ran and took the L. Bulls who turn bears, you scared, you shoulda hell. We smooth brain, we don't even know how to sell. The SEC wanna send the whole gang to jail. Fuck it, we can throw them some tendies and make bail. Still have enough to cop a house in the hills for the wife's boyfriend and tats of Keith Gill. Due diligence, we know what's coming next. We making history, it's written in the text. It's legal, we don't give a shit about the threats. Only pump and dump we do is when we shitting at the sex. So all
Gemini
the hate you about to peak, we ain't forget ya. Just hang tight, the rocket coming to get ya. This isn't about us getting richer. Power to the players, it's about the bigger picture. So tell the SEC if they mess with GME, and if they mess with DFV, they're gonna have to deal with WSB. So tell the SEC,
Gemini vegan sent here.
And if they mess with DFV, they're gonna have to deal with WSB. Retards! Assume formation! Hold strong! Look, we some smooth brain dudes who ain't got no intelligence. You're losing your own game to new age degenerates. The rules changed soon as they knew that it was imminent. There's blood in the water and we like the smell of it. Damn, used to buy high and sell low. Now they want my shares and I tell them hell no. Damn, people finna think I sell blow when I pull up in that matte black Lambo. Damn, tell the hedge fund CEOs I need my chicken tendies and a large fry to go. Damn, and if you don't know, now you know. You get wrecked if you disrespect the Wall Street bros. Instead of robbing the broken, helping the rich. Tell Vlad he can slob on the knob of my dick. Tell Ken Griffin and Plotkin I'm knocking they bitch. Can't see me like they rocking the Oculus Rift. So if you start to feel doubt then bump this shit. If you thinking of selling out then bump this shit. Cause we going to Valhalla in our rocket ship. When it's any man come you can't stop this shit. No fear over here, we still golden. We like the stock so we ain't never folded. He's still holding and we still holding. He's still holding and we still holding. If we sold right now we make a fortune, but we about to get a bigger portion. Cause he's still holding and we still holding. He's still holding and we still holding. So tell the SEC if they mess with GME, and if they mess with DFV, they gonna have to deal with WSB. So tell the SEC if they mess with GME, and if they mess with DFV, they gonna have to deal with WSB. Hold tight, my fellow apes, for no one man shall conquer an army of apes with smooth brains and no fucks to give. To Valhalla, we ride. 10K is not a meme. 10K is the dream. I love you, beautiful fucking retards. Keep pushing. GameStop. Big tune.
I am a toaster. This is not financial advice.
Show us the fucking money. It's time to lay it on me. Cause what's mine is ours. This shit belongs to the army. Gon' need to see them Benjis. We hungry for them tendies. Give us this day our daily bread. Show us the fucking money.
This ain't financial advice, just a little DD to help you think twice. We hold for each other, eyes on the prize. The 100,000 times 5. I joke, I kid, no, I don't know a damn thing. I'm as simple as Bubba trying to sell some damn shrimp. Can't spell IQ, can't even count to 10. And I eat crayons every day with my friends. I think about Kenny in his ivory tower, shaking in his lily boots as the apes overpower. Must suck to lose two monkeys, so dumb. But you made your bed and you got nowhere to run. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when he makes the prize fall. And he watching as we keep on more. You forgot we on the floor, blind, 2 hours old. Lie, stop breaking the law, asshole.
Show us the fucking money. It's time to lay it on me. Cause what's mine is mine. Is ours. This shit belongs to the economy. Gon' need to see them benches. We hungry for them tendies. Give us this day our daily bread. Show us the fucking money.
Love a smooth brain, stupid ass, throwing all my money at the streets like a quarterback. If you D don't mean a thing, water up a dust back. Age not, leave a knot until we get the money stacks. Monkey see, monkey do, monkey holding till it blue. Monkey magic coming through, 3 us monkeys on the moon. Double digit IQ, Tendy loving bamboo. Right here we got more smoothies than a jumbo jeans. Probably thought you coulda made us sell all the gooder. In hell we maybe woulda, but we more than the Buddha. The floor 6 figures ain't selling for less. You took on the ape nation and you're fucking with the best. We hold for each other, my sisters and my brothers, the fighters and the lovers. We don't need another fan because we huddle through hard times and struggle because we just a couple of.
All right, guys. Well, good morning. Welcome back to Marantz Rantz. Plenty of good information, a little bit of motivation, a whole lot of truth, no financial advice. Yes, we have Austin Tobitt coming. He's actually finishing up his work meeting and getting a bite to eat. You guys want to know everything? I mean, damn. He just texted right now. It's coming through. I would tell you we're going to be starting our interview in about 7 minutes. Okay, so we have time to get a drink. I'll be back. Yeah, don't worry about it. I got to get a drink too. I literally have been scrambling all morning. Well, one, I want to give a shout out right now to Loop Me. That is his name, Loop Me. You can find him on Twitter, I hope. He's the one who makes the thumbnail for the channel today. Additionally, the other thumbnails that we've used to promote everything would be Joey. So between Loop Me and Joey, and even myself by sending pictures, shout out to these guys, and they have great NFT projects. You guys know that. Joey's a living legend in this chat, and Loop Me is the new guy, and we'll see how it goes. But Austin's coming, and then you can ask him what the hell he's eating. I don't know, but he'll be here in a minute or two. So give him a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a bite to eat real quick. Not a bite to eat, but a drink, because we're going to be doing a lot of talking. But I appreciate everyone who showed up so far. We will show up. You guys know this. It's too easy, guys. Give out the best fundamentals in the business? Absolutely. I want to make this plain and clear as day if you're here right now. Absolutely 0 super chats. You understand me? I don't want to see super chats come to the screen. I will read as much as you want to write. That is fine. We're going to be having a conversation. We don't promote super chats here. There's no merch. There are no affiliate links. I don't want you to join Moo Moo, Weeble, nothing. None of these damn animals. How about we just buy some stock? So do the best you can, buy as much as you can, and I wish you all well, and I'll be right back. You guys know what it is. Hit the like button. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys doing everything you do, honestly. But I've already donated. Do I get a refund? Anthony, I give you a refund every day I can. I do as many videos as I can. I give as much love as I can, and I carry you in the bottom lane when we're playing League. Don't ever forget that. GameStop. Can't stop, won't stop. GameStop. I got to go get a drink, millionaires. I'll be right back.
Don't be mistaken, the
know what that is. All right, I'm still here. I know the music was low, so I apologize. Like I said, Austin's eating. Give him a second. But we'll get back to some of this DD that's coming out. You know what's crazy, guys? And I'm going to go over this with you guys. I started cruising Volution website, which I should have been doing. I did it a long time ago. I did it like a year ago. And it doesn't hold its same weight like it used to in my brain because I was like, you know what, Volution Capital, these guys are the funding for Chewy.com. These guys are the funding and the board of directors for GameStop. Like, it's all cool. Oh, my goodness. If messages are going to be coming through while I'm live, okay, my mic sounds weird. Let's see what's going on. Does it? Well, let me see. I want to make sure I sound okay for you guys. I'll check it out. Oh, it's probably broken by now. And we'll see how it goes. But if we still hold it. Let me see. These guys are the funding for Chewy.com. Oh, yeah, wow. These guys are the funding and the stop GameStop. When the hell did that happen? I'll be right back. When the hell did that happen? Holy shit. Hey, I'll change the mic right now. We're going to see something. Shit. Hey, I'll change the mic right now. We're going to see something. Yeah, it's still. It's like I'm in a damn. It's like I'm in a tunnel. All right. Well, good thing we're here. See if this works. I'm going to see if this one works. See if this works. Did this work better? See if this one works. See if this works. That might work better, right? This work better if this one works. You tell me if you like that one better, Kyoto. I don't know. When you played the song and you left, replug it in. Hey guys, I'll take all your advice because I don't have an engineer. All right. Well, I think it has to do with my Bluetooth, so let me do it this way. Don't worry. I'm figuring it out. Or I'm trying to. Don't worry. I'm figuring it out. Yeah, how's that? Or I'm trying to. That's got to be better, right? Yeah, I figured. And all these guys talking about PlayStation controllers or whatever the hell you're talking about, you guys are all retarded. And I don't use my phrasing. Please don't. Yeah. Good, now just the volume is low. Yeah, I know. I got to pick it up. I'm going to pick it up right now. So. You guys know I use like 10 different things for all this. You know, if I had an engineer, you know, if I would have been grifting for a long time, I'd have an engineer by now. But I don't have one, so that's that. All right, let's add a limiter. Move that up. Boom. Okay, I think that's a lot better, and I'm pretty sure about that. So. I can't even hear myself. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys. You sound fire now. Thank you guys so much for that. Shout out to Kyoto, my sound engineer from way over in from Japan. That works out. Don't forget it's trash night. Titan XL, you're a fucking god, dude. Excuse my language. Let me see if Austin's ready. Give me 1 second, guys. Or he's going to join the Discord. So let me see how it goes there. You're supposed to join it this way. We'll see how it goes. While we're here, you guys, oh, there he is. Is that him? No, that's a Wag Me friend. Okay, that's somebody else. Guys, I'm so thirsty. Oh, and I'm not talking about like an OnlyFans AMC girl. Like, I'm really thirsty. I had to drink some stuff. I first just want to say thank you guys for showing up. And yes, he is coming. Don't forget. Dude sipping on rum and coke. Not yet, bros. Not yet. What's in the cup? Dr. Pepper. My wife's favorite drink, Dr. Pepper. That's where I'm at. And I got to check my phone. Hold on, guys. No, it's funny. Okay, so let me give the breakdown real quick. So I was working all night. Get home and I'm trying to review everything I want to ask Austin on all these questions. And I have a whole bunch of stuff written here. And then I get a message like, yo, Marantz, Austin's going to hold you hostage because he's going to make you DRS before you hang up. And I was like, oh, man. But we're going to go over a lot of this stuff in a minute. He's getting set up right now. He just texted me. So I just want to thank you guys for coming out. Okay, hey, real quick, though. I know that we usually do NFT giveaways on this channel. It's not going to happen today. We're going to stay focused on the information we want to get to. And that's pretty much it. So DP and I think Dr. Pepper. Yeah, and I didn't think Dr. Pepper. Oh, you're kind of gross. I appreciate that, though, bro. Whatever you want to think. And what I say, my wife's favorite, I'll slap you. I'll slap you right now, Anthony Trent. I mean, even through the mic. But it's fine. Hey, guys, for those of you guys who are here for the first time, I apologize. Some of these guys have been here for a year and a half, every day of their lives. They're day ones, as we call them. Oh, man, people are just texting. They won't even get a piece. They won't even get enough of me. Wow. I got some buddies out here. I got some real rock stars. But thank you guys so much. Austin's figuring it out. Let me see. Oh, yeah, it's because the damn... Yeah, 1 second, guys. 1 second. Let me leave that here. All right, guys. I think I'm okay. I think we're ready. Hold on, bros. I need to know if you guys can hear me perfect right now. Yeah, only 79 likes. Well, then you won't get anybody in here. That sucks. Oh, cool. Yeah, shout out to Jimmy Billion. Jimmy Billion, somebody I found in one of these channels, and we were talking on some of the live streams that I go into. You know, the Twitter Spaces calls in the morning. So if you guys follow me on Twitter. We're in and out of Spaces call all morning. And we do a good job of, you know, spreading awareness brick by brick, doing the best we can. But it works out. So thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that, Ryan. It sucks, man. Been shadow banned for a long time. Been trying to get through it. Austin set up his camera. So give me a second. You know, well, I can do this for you guys. This is easy. Our Twitter, oh my God. Our server for Discord is free. We don't charge anything, guys. On this channel here, guys, there are no super chats, there's no merch, there's no affiliates. I mean, we are affiliated with GameStop, but I don't even put that tweet out. I don't even put the link out there for you guys. We're GameStop, you buy your shares. Go do whatever you want with your money, but that's what I encourage. But do not, for whichever reason, don't super chat. And join the Discord, it's free. And those guys have a great time in there, and they pass around a lot of DD and any ideas on how to do stuff. So this might be it. Hold on. Somebody else texted me.
Let's go.
Hold on. That was... Somebody came into my voice channel and said that. I love these guys. These guys are hilarious. We're giving Austin time to hook up right now, guys. He was working, took time out of his day. Remember, like a lot of us take time out of our day to give up this time to do these things. That's what we're doing here. Is it not on the screen? I don't understand. Maybe I don't know. I'm gonna put he's gonna have his whole picture up, guys. I'm gonna have his whole stream up right now. But I can do this for you. Just so you know. Because we agreed to go on camera, not just like cell phone. I said, hey, well, if you want to, we can hook up and get you on the camera, everything else. But I have stuff. He sent me a picture this morning. He goes, Marantz, use this one. I said, okay. Look at this guy. Is that not the most defined bald head you've ever seen in your life? Look at this dude. And for you ladies out there, I don't know his situation, but he's a damn good looking dude. And there you go. So whenever I get his picture up on the camera, then I'll go ahead, or whenever I get his video up, then I'll take him down. Team effort, I agree. Once again, people text me about work. You know, at work, things been going great, but here right now on GameStop, still solid, guys. For those of you guys who don't know, we've actually have a window here on GameStop as far as how much it's going to come down to. We picked a window of $32. That's after the split, all the way up until September, the middle of September. I'm not telling you to buy options or do any of that bullshit. I'm just letting you know it's going to float in between $32 and $48. That's the window you're at. And it touched all the way up to $47.99, $47.96, and it came back down. So you're still within that window there. $32.10, it's touched on the bottom. So we guessed it right. We did that shit like 2 months ago. I don't know where you guys were, but we've been here the whole time. But I appreciate you guys so much. Yeah, Neckbeard Gang, I guess Travis B, but you know, I'm a clean cut kind of guy. But this guy, if you guys don't know, okay, let's do that. Austin Tobitt, very smart man, has a lot of theories, and not just theories. This is actual DD that's been backed. It has been not refuted, only by one guy who sucks on pickles and hookahs all day, who swallows them whole. But besides him, no one else really talks bad about Tobitt. If you ever said something bad, it's like you're an idiot. You don't know what the hell's going on. But when you're looking at it from our standpoint, it's like the guy who tried to like he said something dumb. He was like, "Who do you follow again in advice and investing?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yelling Lion or something." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Roaring Kitty," right? And it was some AMC investor. I was just like, "Dude, keep buying your ape. You're doing great, bro." So. Give me 1 second. This is Mr. House of Cards. Citadel has no clothes. Walk like a duck. What else did he have? Missing one. House of Cards. Citadel has no clothes. And everything's short. There you go. How could I ever forget? I can't forget. All right, here we go. Austin, if you don't wake up, bro. He says I'm hooking up. All right, well, you know what'd be crazy? If he and I know he wouldn't, but if he would just to catfish me, right? No, it wouldn't happen. Let me link the Discord to the top of the chat. I'm gonna pin it. It's cool. I'd only say it because I watched that damn Manti Te'o thing on Netflix the other night, and I was blown away. He was just doing things. Oh, here we go. I'm in here with the Tobitt right now. Give me 1 second, boss. Hey, can you hear me? Let me ask. Let me find out something really quick. Let me do it this way. Call. We're going to do it a different way. Okay, there we go. And now, all right, guys, I think we're in. Give me 1 second. Normally, I would have this all ready to go beforehand. But, hey, we're on a timeline. Okay, so there's that. Let me see. Hey, Austin, can you hear me? Because I'm going to call you. There we go. Hey, Austin, we're going to do a sound check. Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so you can hear me there. And then let me make sure everything else is off. There we go. So you can hear me now. And then I want to make sure. Do you want your camera on? There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so let me.
As long as it works.
Yeah, we're gonna put you on right now. Just give me 1 second, and I'm gonna map out my OBS because nobody really cares about the ticker right now as we talk. I have that sexy picture you sent me earlier.
Hey, thanks, dude.
I'll leave it in the corner there. Yeah, no worries, bro. Don't worry about it. Don't feel a certain way about me either. You know, terms of endearment, they go far with me.
Hey, I'm good.
All right, so here we go. Let me move you so that like you're bigger and better. You got a good camera going, so it's gonna work out. I'm gonna hide this one. We're almost ready. I think this will get us through the day right here. All right, brother, how you doing?
Doing well, man. How are you? Just
I'm out.
Grab a quick little yogurt here.
Well, I'm outstanding. And then let's see if everyone can hear you. Can you guys hear us? Great. We're good. Turn up his volume. Okay, got it. I will. Let me turn you up really quick. Well, I really can't turn you up. You'd have to turn up yourself because you're already maxed. Let me see.
Okay, let me check in the
filters. I can do filters. I can get you a little up, but you'll start peaking on my end.
That's okay. I'll just check the.
There, that should be better. Try talking now and see if we can hear you.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be it right there. Hold on.
Can you hear me there?
I'm going to check on my phone. Go ahead. Talk real quick.
Can you keep bumping at my output volume?
I'm going to check on my phone. Go ahead. Talk real quick.
Can you keep bumping at my output volume?
Yeah, I think you're pretty good. I mean, I have to mute my other side of this. So I'm going to do a different way for me. Filters. We're almost there. Anyway, how have you been? You know, I was asked to ask you, are you still alive?
Yeah, I'm still alive. So, as long as my volume's good, I mean.
I'm trying to turn you up right now.
I'm at 200%.
Okay, you're good. You're good. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be able to turn you up on my own. So I'm gonna do it right now. Okay, let me turn this bad boy down. For whatever reason, one of these is not real. Okay, go ahead now.
Yep.
There, I found out. I found the one it was. Okay, I wanted to find out which one it was, and it's here. So I think you're ready. I think we're good. So welcome back. Yeah, you got to be loud as shit now for all the guys. And they're texting me, they're telling me, but we're good now. I'm pretty sure. All right, well, hey, this is Austin Tobitt, guys. If you guys don't know, then you live under a goddamn rock. A good-ass dude right here. I know everyone, yeah, now they know you're good. There we go. Sorry, guys, for the mix-up. It took us 29 minutes to get this going, but I'm happy you're here now. I will just tell you, just to lay it out for you, brother. Been reading your DD. I think everyone has, and they're all fanboy off of you right now as far as House of Cards, Citadel Has No Clothes, Everything's Short, and then, of course, Walk Like a Duck. But your whole storyline there, and as we review it back, just in my mind, a lot of it still stands up. A lot of it still stands tall. So it kind of tells you you've done the homework. But I was actually going over it last night, and I was thinking about the ripple effect theory that you have. You know, where like you're looking at a pond, and all this is going on underneath, and it takes just so much for just a little blip or a little ripple to happen. Do you think those ripples are happening right now?
Yeah. So I will just come in and do a quick intro here. I saw somebody mentioned the vets shirt. So I'm not a veteran. I support veterans every opportunity I get. I'm literally that guy that'll go up to a stranger in the store and shake their hand.
All right, well, thank you. I'm a veteran. We're good.
Yeah, but this is. Oh, are you? Man, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you for
it's
your
good.
service. Yeah, I've got a 5-year-old daughter that'll literally do the same thing every time she sees like an army hat or something. She'll go up to it. But this is Warrior 12. I'm not endorsed or promoted by them or anything. It is a vet company, and I buy their products all the time. So
awesome.
Not to confuse that, but. And second was the, like, where you been, what have you been doing? So when I take breaks or when I take a hiatus from Reddit, I know a lot of people that are, especially when you're in it daily, like you're staying up to date with everything that's going on. I have to like step back. I have to literally like, when I have something that I'm researching or I'm writing, I'm getting it knocked out. I'll post it. I'll stay on for like a week or 10 days. Mainly just to follow up and see if there's like, people usually going to throw tomatoes at something, and after a week, if somebody's not come in and just completely knocked out the bricks, usually I'll take time off. I'm going back out. I have 2 girls that are both getting ready to go into kindergarten. I have a wife of 6 years. We just bought a house. I just transferred my wife and I both transferred jobs in December. Really hit the ground rolling in like March or April.
Congratulations.
Both of us work from home. Yeah. So it's just a lot of stuff going on personally. Like I'm not being, like as far as all the conspiracy theories, like I am not, I'm not like being held at gunpoint to like, keep my mouth shut or anything.
I got you.
Yeah. So everything's fine there. It's just a matter of, when there's a story to be told, I try to get on and tell it. And so yeah, nothing huge there on that front. Other than that, like I'm still holding. I have more shares than I've ever had, and happy to be there, still diamond handing with everybody. So
I'm so happy to hear that. Man.
Everybody's good there. So as far as the ripple theory, like it's a good topic, and I'll tell you what really like caught my attention on it and piqued my interest in that theory is. There was a study pumped out by Harvard in the 1950s to connect what we know and what happens in physics to the human psyche and try to make the connection or draw that bridge in terms of how the universe operates and how people in mass operate. And I can't remember the name of this study, but if you go Google it, you can probably find it if you type in like Harvard study 1950s, maybe it's the 1940s, on physics and the human world or the human psyche and the effects of physics on the human psyche. Anyway, so the concept here is that if you fire a bullet from a gun, right, the air around the end of the muzzle is completely still, except for like wind or whatever. And if you take that bullet and you fire it, you have a 1,000 foot per second or 1,500 feet per second immediately hit the air, creates a shock wave, and everywhere around that bullet you have this expansion of air and this gas that is now disturbing the environment. So as that bullet continues to go forward, it becomes less and less effective. There's a diminishing margin on the amount of air that is disturbed by it. So if you think about January 2021 and you think about how, let me back up. So that gun, that bullet that fired from that gun, had a huge effect on the environment around it. It distorted the environment, and then after time, a certain amount of time had passed, the environment will return to the way that it was. So think about that in terms of human and economics, but instead of the bullet, replace that bullet with news. Okay, so as soon as the news breaks, depending on how devastating, depending on to put apples to apples, the feet per second that news is traveling, the impact that it has, the weight of that news, the velocity that it's traveling has that same effect. You get this ripple effect. Look at the stock price in January 2021 when that news broke, and there were just a handful of people in comparison to what we have today. There are a handful of people that are aware of this buildup that's happening with GameStop, and then they're sitting there in October, November, December, and shit's starting to go from 5 to 8 to 10 to 20, and you get to January and you hit like 100% days, just day over day over day. That news is starting to break from the end of the gun at this point. And so you have this huge shock wave, goes up above $400, starts to come back down. Another shock wave, another shock wave, another shock wave. And so you get this ripple effect, which is caused from that news. And the media and short sellers in particular, hedge funds, not necessarily even short sellers, but hedge funds and money interests, big interests, are so good at controlling that narrative, spreading the news when they want to, concealing news when they need to, and all so that people will rely on that as a source of truth. So that's what sparked the thought for the ripple theory, was the way that the physical world works is the exact same way that the human psyche works, especially in mass. So you can have all of these things going on underneath the surface, right? You can have all of these mechanics working in the background. You can have market makers, doing whatever they need to do in order to keep the situation under control. But on the surface, you don't see any of those ripples until
calm.
you have say that again.
I said it looks calm.
It looks completely calm.
Yeah.
But what you're not seeing is that news breaking the surface. You're just not seeing the effects of what that that impact on society, or that impact on how people are trading, and the it's probably getting into another topic, but they were caught with their pants so far down, dude. They were caught. This is really what piqued my interest listening to your channel yesterday. Was someone came on and they were talking about IV being like 800% or something. One of my biggest things going into this was not looking at options data enough, or not giving enough weight or credit to like the effect of what options can do on stock price. And so because I had never dealt with them before, and I never purchased them, I never even I never traded until GameStop. Like I never even had an interest in that. And so when you look at the options chain, and I think it was like 25 or 20 to 1 or something like that, that situation, the odds of that happening again are just like slim to none. Now that this has become the madness that it has. So what hedge funds have done in between, hiding, short interest, whether it's hiding short interest in options or creating different swaps, and people have no idea how like the swaps even can work to do this, but they are using other stocks like AMC that they have complete control over.
Absolutely. To
hedge against what is happening with GameStop, so they can front run that hedge a week or two ahead of time and cover any sort of margin call, whatever capital that they need. They can front run that stock and secure their position in say they have to close on these FTDs that are piling up in GameStop. What's a great way to do it? One, you take people away from what they're focused on with GameStop. You put the attention directly on this new shiny toy. We're like a bunch of fucking raccoons, man. We see something and it's going up 5%, and we're like, we've got to get in on this now. Oh, GameStop's not doing anything. It's just sleeping. Well, let's just go do this really quick. And it runs like that for 2 weeks. Behind the scenes, everything under the surface, right? Just because the surface isn't bubbling on GameStop, everything is happening right there in that moment underneath the surface. And that's what they've been doing. It's not like this big, grand conspiracy that I don't think the situation has gotten any better for them. I think that they've just managed to put this in cycles. They've managed to whether it's a 6-week or 8-week cycle, to let this thing run, let off the steam. As soon as the steam starts cooking again, they let off a little bit more, they let off a little bit more, and in the meantime, they're throwing you AMC and APE, whatever the fuck that's supposed to be. They're throwing you costs. They're throwing you, this thing with Bed Bath & Beyond was a play in the making for a very long time, but it wasn't GameStop.
No, not
a
at
lot
all.
of people got hurt. A lot of people got hurt with Bed Bath & Beyond because they thought it was going to do like AMC going to the 70s and go in the 80s and stuff like that. But yeah, so that was a very long-winded answer to the ripple theory, but
no worries. No worries. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Theorize, and I don't have a problem doing that, because if you haven't hung around me long enough, Austin, I have great theories on as far as how they're using AMC against us. But it's one thing to prove it to the masses. When you have the masses confused and or believing the propaganda in front of them, they're just going to go towards the light. So I've been trying to save people brick by brick, but it's tough. It's a hard man's fight. But I have a question for you, because there's some indicators that give it away, like give away the swap theory that we have. Volume. And I'm curious because I was watching some of your interviews in the past. I've read all your DD, but what's your theory on the volume increase, AMC versus GameStop? Like AMC yesterday traded 148 million shares, something crazy like that. We traded 4 million. Yet our floats are almost similar now that we've split. Why is our volume, not even 3% of the float, not even 1% of the float, basically, from day to day? I think it's the indicator is we're diamond handing our shares. We really are, while the other ones are coming in and out because it is controlled by someone else, not themselves. So I was just curious if the difference in volume has you believing that they have to push out more volume to mimic our movements and or what we're doing because of our split? And did the split really play effect on your mind as far as, hey, even though we split, we're still diamond handed even more now? Like it's really amazing to watch. So
yeah, good question, good thought. So when I started to take my last hiatus from Super Stonk, I had this invite, someone from Super Stonk. I was in the Super Stonk Discord channel, and there were a few people in there that were really putting out some shit that was like making my mind, turning my gears, so to speak. And so he meant to pull me off the side. He said, "Hey, I got this Discord server. It's got a bunch of basically a bunch of Dave Lauer's old guys, and Cryan was in there, and a bunch of other people, and along with Renzel and a couple other people." So I hopped in that group, and I really started to dive into what this whole options play and everything that was going on with options was all about. And so since I've been in this group, there are these like super bright people that are talking about all of these theories, how volume is being affected, just throwing together metrics that you would never think to even throw together. And maybe 1 out of 5 of these or 1 out of 10 of these are very plausible. And it's so hard to tell, it's so hard to try and prove by putting the pieces together. But one of those is the GameStop to AMC price ratio. So if you look at that, you'll see how there's this like diminishing effect with like AMC, how GameStop has been, going on the uptick because GameStop is price per share has been, increasing ever since, God, I can't remember. It's like right after AMC ran to like $70 or something like that. So there's there's some evidence there to show that this is a bigger connection than we originally thought. And then the volume theory, it's hard because backdating that past any sort of stock splits or any sort of it's hard to make a long-term trend and correlation.
Yeah, the
because
share offerings, things of that nature.
Yeah. So many things have happened since January when this whole thing was just thrown out. Normally it's okay if you have like 5 years trend on a stock that has relatively little change in terms of change volume, except for maybe you exclude some news items to cause some volume on higher days. But when you start to trade the company's float multiple times in one day, I don't know if we have any data or any evidence to suggest like how much is retail, how much is short covering, how much is short selling, how much is being, how much of this is just front loading a bunch of shorts that they're going to cover later, and they don't even have the shares to borrow right now. How much of this goes to, what the people were talking about on some of those recent documentaries, where it's like, dude, we naked short sold shares every day. So you can't even approach this like the system is being played in a fair way, so that when you're looking at data, you have like, if everything is done fairly, if everything is done honestly and accurately, this is what the volume would be. But it's not, and we never get any sort of follow up on like something can happen 2 years ago, like with GameStop. This whole thing happened, the sneeze happened in January, almost 2 years ago. And there's, other than the SEC's report, if you want to, take that for what it's worth, who was there to tell us, there was all of this, I don't want to say fraudulent behavior because we can't point to anything and say it, but who's there to say, this is what happened and these people were caught doing something wrong when so many people were caught doing something wrong? So again, trying to analyze days with really high volume, if you want to look at the past month or so, or like past 6 months, right? Go before, the AMC split and GameStop did the 4-for-1. So if you go prior to that and you just look at like what GameStop's doing, AMC's doing, I don't know that retail buying activity on AMC is even comparable to retail buying on GameStop, because the thesis is so much different with the two of them. Think about it like this. The only reason people are involved with buying AMC right now is because after the sneeze in January, the only thing that they were hearing about on the news was like GameStop had a really high short interest. It went from $5 to where it is now. Everybody and their mother were basically trying to like look at a list of other stocks that had a high short interest. AMC was at the top, like 40-something%. I know this because I looked. And AMC is right there, and guess what the AMC price was? Stock price, $5. And so now all of a sudden, without any sort of, technicals, like, and nobody went back and looked at what people were talking about in October and November, saying, this is what DFV was all about. It's like, dude, this is a heavily shorted company, but the technicals are still there. I think that they can have the opportunity to do big things.
Absolutely.
Nobody ever said that with AMC.
No, fundamentals exist, and unfortunately, the fundamentals are not in the positive side. I've gone over hundreds of videos on that, but that's I didn't want to beat it down that way. I don't want to waste your time with that. We both agree, you and I, that it's just not there. But I will tell you, my idea that I want to get from you is, you've been in this forever, but I want to know your reaction to the GameStop split and what effect it might have on those market makers. Because a lot of people have these questions. Are they just showing up with shares, or did they really deliver everything? Did they do a forward split versus the dividend split? It's those things that I wanted to touch on. And it's not that I want to change, shift you away from that. Hey, guys, guess what? I hate AMC with the best of them, only because I think it's a play on media, a play on you, and the fundamentals prove that. So we'll see that in due time. But that's just to put a cap on it. But I really want to get to the split with you because we can talk AMC ape equity split and how that bullshit is just pulling money out of retail and or any equity as of that. When you say, I'll give you this example. You say, okay, the stock goes up, it comes down. It goes up, it comes down. And that means they're pumping liquidity into it and then taking some out. But as you have seen, you can't pump it as high. It's getting dry. And that's AMC. AMC is getting drier, it's getting smaller, and that's the price action you're talking about, or the relative ratio that has changed over time. So at some point, they have to detach. At some point, they can't move that fluid. And I'm saying, okay, well now you need a new vehicle to drive liquidity off of retail, and here it is. It's this ape unit right here in front of you, and it's dilution. It's everything that they disguise it not to be. But for GameStop, it's totally different because you actually gave us back our liquidity and gave us the shares to do it. I think it increased the float, but that's with the narrative of we're a harder company to buy out when you have a larger float. That's the way I see it whenever companies do increase floats. It's so that other people can't come in and just focus. Like, let's say RC Ventures fails. You can buy a whole portion of GameStop and just take it from them. You can't take it from as big of a portion when we're holding more. So I'm just looking at it from a different standpoint. But I want to know your ideas on the GameStop split and what that could do to market makers and what it has done so far.
So, okay. I pushed out a DD post on this when the news of the split broke. And so the way, from an accounting perspective, the way that this works is if it's just a regular split, right, you take total number of shares, multiply it by whatever the split was, and then cut the price by whatever the ratio turned out. So 4-for-1, that's how it would work. And it applies to short sellers and existing short positions, because if the float was 50 million shares, okay, say 50 million shares pre-split, and just to use simple numbers, let's say half of that, so you have 20, or let's just say 30 million shares. 30 million shares are sold short. You have a 60%, float, short interest on the float. Short sellers have already gone to someone, borrowed that share, so they owe that share back to the person they borrowed it from, and then they sold it short into the market. So whoever bought that share is now the owner of the share. They don't know that it was a share sold short, and then the person that lent the share has also has an asset or a receivable from the short seller for that share in the future. When you split, normally you would have a stock that is just like everything gets doubled. If you split 2 for 1, everything gets doubled, right? Short positions, outstanding short positions doubled, but you have double the amount of liquidity to pull that obligation from. With the dividend, and the way that the dividend is supposed to happen, right, is the dividend only goes to the current owner of the share. So the short seller has to pay one share back to the person that they borrowed that share from originally, and then the person that has the share that purchased it from that short seller receives one from the company. Okay, so basically, in other words, like the incentive should be there before you split to to cover that short position, so you are not on the hook now for multiple shares.
Yeah, whatever it may be.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How that happened, I have no idea in terms of what happened with the company, how the share was issued to the company, whether anything funky happened with the DTC. I don't know if we'll ever be able to look at that and say, this is the official story from the DTC or this is the official story from the company. I do believe that it was issued directly from the company, to the dividend was issued directly from the company. But then there was, I remember skimming through Reddit and seeing something where, somebody was saying that the company didn't issue it as a dividend. It was just a regular split. And so I have no idea. I have no... maybe if you have something that
well, here's the thing. So yeah. I buy my shares, I hold my shares, right? Mm-hmm. And if they split, or however you want to do the split, I don't care. I still have more, like when I woke up the next day. And if the pressure's there for them to cover, I'm asking to myself, at what point are their feet to the fire? Like when do these cycles pump up that they have to increase the volume for this stock to run even further? Like I have it pinned down to somewhere right after September. I think the stock should be going up, just in my head, the way I do it, the math, and based off of splits. I've studied a couple of different splits, and the way those companies were short, whether it was Tesla or Herbalife or things of that nature, when they split, it took them about 2.5 months to find a bottom, and then they ran. And if we're going to be treated that way, that's awesome. But we have fundamentals backing us up in a way. Some of those companies didn't have that at the time, and now they do. But I'm just curious, because here's why. I wake up this morning, and there's 2.9 million shares available to borrow for GameStop to short, and they took them. They took them this morning off the IBKR, and I'm curious as to your idea or your thesis, like the increased, remember, they could only get like 15, 20,000 at a time just a couple of weeks ago. Now we're getting 2.9 million out of nowhere.
So, again, what was happening beneath the surface for the past 3 weeks? Right?
Yeah.
What's happening beneath the surface past 3 weeks? You have this period of run up, which, by the way, if you haven't looked at the buildup in FTDs on GameStop since April, I would check into that. I would look into that. Also, really quickly, I won't spend much time on it, but you mentioned Tesla, the comparison between Tesla and GameStop. As of this morning, I had a couple of people in the Discord talking about, or possibly last night, talking about the relationship between Tesla and GameStop and being hedges. Tesla ran very similar to the way that GameStop's running, and it ran on a very consistent timeline after their split, which GameStop could possibly be doing here very soon as well. So that's worth digging into. So when you have 2.9 million shares available to borrow, you have to realize like the number that you're seeing reported on IBKR, the number that you're seeing reported on, I have Fidelity, so I look at Fidelity. The number you see reported on Fidelity, a few months back, we actually started looking into this and calling Fidelity reps and tried to figure out like, how are you calculating? We had 3 different answers from 3 different representatives. Okay, nobody knows who the shares are being located from. They just say that, you know, this is confidential information. We can't, you know, provide that, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But the way that the number hits the available to borrow, like the number of shares available to borrow, is a calculation of what they believe is available based on volume, one, and based on, so they believe it's a calculation based on what should be available to borrow based on whatever is happening with volume and you know, like a daily chart of volume, the number of positions that are actually flagged as like available to borrow. But when it gets down to 0, and then the next day you see 2.9 million shares, these shares can be taken out of anything. You know, it could be taken out of ETFs. It could take them out of XRT. You could take them out of. It could be one day that somebody went in and they've been buying a bunch of shares, and now it's like, okay, 2 days later there was a spike. What was it, last Friday or something? It went, you know, right before close. There was like a whole bunch of shares that went in. Could have been a short position covering, and now all of a sudden those shares are back on is available to borrow. But I think the big thing here in terms of like where this availability, where the share availability is coming from, you have 2.9 million shares available as of this morning. What is the first thing that people are going to do when they're seeing that? They're going to think, oh fuck, something is wrong. Something is happening. The cost to borrow has been going down a little bit, regardless from, you know, the fact that it was, you know,
sky high,
maintained for like 6 weeks, peaked, maintained even higher, peaked, and then you look after like 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, to where it was still at like 30%, and then all of a sudden this Bed Bath & Beyond stuff happens, this stuff with AMC and Ape happens, GameStop's kind of just chilling in price, no big deal, it's going up. If you look at a 6-month trend on the daily chart, you have a good support line that ran right under about $37, and when you have really low volume, it's a lot easier. You have really low volume, a low demand. It's really easy to just punt a bunch of shares out through shorts and drive the price down. And so those 2.9 million shares, nobody knows what they're for. Like, nobody knows if those 2.9 million shares are borrowed right this second and they're going to be sold into the market. They could have borrowed 2.9 million shares to cover FTDs from the past month. Okay. Like they may not even be sold short into the market. I think that they're probably going to try and, you know, tank the price, bring it back down to, you know, 120 or below 120. That's totally possible because volume is low, but you have no information as to what's going to happen with those shares. And then tomorrow you could see another 1.5 million added. Well, maybe they kept 1.4 million and then returned 1.5. You can look at some of these through Ortex and, you know, take it for what it's worth, but they do have a daily like returned and a daily borrowed. So it's so hard to figure out what's going to happen or what they're going to do with it. But at the end of the day, just because there are 2.9 million shares available to borrow, and like within an hour, I think it went to like 40,000 or something like that. So somebody borrowed all of them. Right. But you don't know what they're going to do, if they're even going to be sold. As of right now, with days that have been like 4 million, 5 million volume days, why would you possibly borrow 2.9 million shares if you're going to short them over the next couple? I mean, you would.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. The volume's too small to represent that many shares borrowed, and we just don't know what's going on with that. And I totally agree with that. I do disagree with you on something though, but I'm saving it for later. But we're going to be fine. It's cool. But I want to get your ideas. It's okay. It's not. It's not like a hateful thing. It's just something that I want to talk about. But
you can disagree. Like I don't take any offense that people disagree.
You know what's crazy? People don't even know this, Austin. This is the first time you and I are actually talking, other than the other day when you called me. We didn't prep any questions. We didn't plan out any of this conversation. I want people to know this is organic. This is real. Like, we literally are just shooting the shit. But the reason why I do it that way, and I've always done it this way, live, I don't record anything. I don't like pre-record stuff. No edits, no cuts, and anything that we do, because you want to theorize this in real time and get your emotion in it. And so people know, hey, this guy probably knows what the hell he's talking about. So anyone in there that I read all the chat while we're talking. There's always one clown in the crew, and then we mute him and we go on. But you guys are great, okay? And so, Austin, you're doing a great job. Here's the question for you, brother. Thanks. You still a big fan of the DTC?
I've never been a fan of the DTC.
I know that. Come on. No, I read everything. So what's your theory? And I have to ask this because these guys are writing the questions, and I don't mind asking. Theory on DRS. I know you're in Fidelity. I'm in Fidelity. I trust Fidelity wholeheartedly. I always have for the amount of years that I've been with them. But I ask you, what's your theory on DRS if you have one?
Yeah, so it was I was definitely on the fence with DRS for a long time, and the way that this started, that Kevin Hart joke, the way that my bank is set up,
got a checking and a savings.
The 401 that I had when I transferred jobs before I went all in on GameStop. I just had a traditional IRA that I could roll it into because my 401 was pre-tax, and so I didn't do anything with Roth. I didn't do anything to tax it and then be able to take it out. And at the time when I started to really consider DRS, my portfolio literally doubled in like 2 weeks because this was like GameStop was $100 and it went like 200. And for personal reasons, I didn't do it. I didn't have enough research done on DRS. But as I started to take a step back and say, well, how is this going to play out and what can happen? Just because shares are DRS doesn't mean that people can't sell. And so you get reports and numbers of, the total amount of shares that have been DRS'd, and that's within their quarterly reports. And I do think it is having an impact. But I don't necessarily know if it's because it's DRS or it's because people are just diamond handing. Like, sure. I've never seen evidence of Fidelity lending out shares that are in a cash account that are not on margin. And so I'm so torn, and this is one of the reasons, again, like if I wanted to go on Superstock and just give my honest opinion on something, I do not know how much of an effect DRS has had, other than I know it's costly to GameStop to have to go through and take the time to do this. But I don't know if it's had as much of an effect on, other than, if you're not lending out your shares, if you're not set on a margin account, and the price can do whatever it wants to do, it can go up 20%, go down 50%, and you're not selling your shares, I don't know how that's really, at the end of the day, I don't know how that's so much different. And when I look at Superstock and I see just the number of people that are just posting like purple rings, and oftentimes they just like hear from one or two other people and they'll say, DRS is the way. If we DRS all of our shares, it will trigger the squeeze. They don't know what they're talking about. they don't. It's not like you can just do this one thing and then everything else is taken care of. I think it's having an effect, and this goes back to what you were saying earlier about, like it's getting much harder to bring that price down. The higher lows could be definitely an effect of that. It could also be just because GameStop is doing shit that makes themselves a much more attractive company, because they could set up a much bigger growth in this NFT marketplace, and just the stuff that they've done in the past 18 months, other than just like buying a gold mine and creating an ape coin. No. It's like so yeah. I think it's having an effect. I don't think that it's the solution for MOAS. I don't.
Sure. So before you leave today, I will go over GameStop fundamentals, some that I have going on with that. But we'll go over it in detail. You'll love it. But so check this out. there's a lot of people out there that are super stoked on DRS. I'm not one of them because I don't care either way. Like I say, I love Fidelity. I like what they do for me, and I don't care, and I don't let out my shares, just like you're saying right now. But there are people who are like, Marantz, you're wrong. You need to go DRS. So I sent 40 over, and not a big deal to me. What the hell do I need the 40? But the question that someone just had in the chat for us. Oh no, but I want to put this out there. So I once did an interview with one of the cheerleaders of. I say that with respect to the crew. Cosmic was in the channel one day. He had called me when he got scammed for some money. Cosmic Lightning Warrior. He got scammed, and I was like, I don't know how the hell you get scammed. He sent his wallet over. Who cares? He says, hey, Marantz, about DRS. You know, so many people are reporting the number on DRS, but how many people do you know? Because I know a lot. I know you now. How many people do you know are not DRS'd? That should tell you something. Exactly. So if 50% of the people are not DRS'd, then you'd mean to tell me we already have 100% of the float locked up, because 50% are DRS'd. And I think the number is even bigger than that as far as not being DRS'd. So if that were the case, if you ever want to use that as an indicator of how many shares are out there, good luck. Good luck, because if there are that many people that you know are 100% DRS'd, or are they 10% DRS'd, or are they 50% DRS'd? But think about it. You already have that much of the float locked up.
Yeah.
Think about all the people that don't have it. So that should make you feel warm and fuzzy inside. But the question that came through, this is from C-Mill.
Yeah.
And this is just a random question about today and tomorrow. Do you have any thoughts, because I definitely don't, on the OPEX covering for the run for today and tomorrow? I never try to guess out the SIBO and the OPEX dates covering, because it never adds up the way people think it does. People go make bets. They go start buying calls for that week because they think it's going to run. I get the hell out of the way. I tell everyone the role that I have here for the channel, just so you're aware, like when they ask questions, I never want them to send me super chats. Don't buy merch. I don't even sell merch. Like, it doesn't work that way. I just want you to buy. That's
the only reason why we're having an interview right now.
Yes, sir. Oh, thank you. But the way it works is
you're not selling out.
No, not at all. I never will. The way it works is this: I want everyone to buy more shares, but those guys that are getting you to go buy these options and chase shit, it's crazy to me. The more shares you have, the more bullets in the gun you have. And I know that you hang out with options guys. I know you do. And I know DFV was an options guy. I hang out with options guys. I know who they are. I just don't promote it in that way because I think you can get caught in the dirt really bad. And I've seen it, and I've seen people buy stuff they don't even understand what they're buying. But it's a scary look. So this guy asked a question, so I'm asking it. Do you have any ideas or thoughts on the OPEX run-ups and how sometimes they don't add up and they don't run?
Yeah, there are timings. There are timings with OPEX and timings with price runs. There absolutely. Does it happen every time? No. If you start to connect so many dots, there are things that are plausible in terms of, like, could this have a decent effect? OPEX, sure. If you look at, like, what's happening with XRT and the runs with GameStop, well, it's a lot harder because you've got more moving pieces between, like, something with an ETF and something with, the shares that are embedded within that ETF and what happens with their price. I remember the last OPEX that we had, we were going into, and a bunch of people in our Discord, and I was just literally just kind of sitting in a back row listening to the way that these people were talking, trying to figure out what Theta was, Vanna was, and all this IV and all this shit, which still just a lot of it is just boggles my mind. So I'm not going to try and act like an expert in options, but what they were talking about and the tools that they had to be able to look what was going through in real time and to see what's happening with these dark blocks and what's trading behind, the data that you get on a regular exchange. You could see movements happening 10 to 20 minutes before they hit the lit exchange. So, for example, dark blocks start coming through or large put orders come through, and all of a sudden it's like 20 minutes later, holy shit, it just dropped like 3%. And it could be a direct effect because of, all these put orders that just went through. Whether that's a legitimate thing, like, the put was because they know something is going to happen in 3 months, or it was just some Yahoo in the middle of Kansas just said, I'm going to put, buy a bunch of puts. So there are indicators like there in the short term that do have a pretty solid correlation between, what's happening with price right now and what's going to happen. when you start to push things out further, like with OPEC states, GameStop runs on like this 6-week cycle. Okay, you have something that I think in March, up until March, was pretty much being managed. Like, I don't think any of these, short positions were, they were at least able to tread water, kind of going up to that point. And when the algorithms had enough time to really figure out like when we can run the hype, when we can cut off the hype, when we can hit the peak, and we can short sell and leave just enough demand there so that people are still FOMO buying and not completely tanking the price. That was almost down to like this science where you have these cycles, and it was running. And then RC drops like 1 million or 100,000 shares on the lit exchange right in one of these periods where it's like, this is probably getting into a ramp up period. And I think it threw the whole fucking thing for a loop. Like, the algos are like, I have no idea what's going on.
I think he does it on purpose.
The thing, yeah. And that begs, you can go down that rabbit hole. Does he know this? Does he know exactly when it's going to happen? As far as I can tell, like, I don't want to give Ryan, this big pedestal to say like he knows everything. I think a lot of people are just doing that blind, and they'll follow that, to their grave. But he's got enough money in the game, and he's got enough, in terms of like these financial advisors to to get a pretty good timeline together.
Yeah.
And so
real quick, I'm sorry, Austin. My theory on this is he's a billionaire. If you have $1 billion, or if you're even classified as that, you've got some smart people around you. So there's a lot of people that are managing Ryan Cohen's funds. It's not just him deciding one day, hey, I'm going to do this today. He's getting some information from people, and the right information, and then he's putting it out there to the masses. A lot of people try to decode tweets. He's telling you to DRS, or he's telling you to do this, and I'm not saying he's not. Right? I'm not ever trying to put words that are not there, but when you're thinking about buy action on GameStop, like the insiders buying shares and holding, even along with you, and vice versa versus other companies, people can sell shares to make money. These guys are not here to make money. And what I mean that is not today, not right now, not this year, not next year. They're in it for the long run. And if you're not in it for the long run, well, shit, man, you're following the wrong thing. Or you really don't know how to invest. That's me personally. I've invested in the companies for 10 years at a time, 5 years at a time. I have no ambition in selling, but people are watching. They're watching Twitter. They're watching Superstock. They're watching, Wall Street Bets and the loss porn and the gain porn. And that's what triggers people. I mean, it's all a psychological play. I try to tell people, like, the one guy who hit $1 million on, X, Y, and Z, or even if it was Trey and Matt, all these guys on YouTube, for every one of those guys, there's 10,000 losers. There's 100,000 losers out there. So there's only one winning lottery ticket sometimes. And in this case, they all think they're going to hit. So I hear you, man. But I think Ryan really has a good idea and grasp over the cycles of what he can manipulate and push and information he puts out. Because I think he has the right people around him. That's just me.
No, I agree. So where we are right now in terms of like these cycles, right? So I've been following the 6 month trend, which I alluded to earlier, and you have up until maybe 3 weeks ago, really before like all the BBBY stuff, there could have been probably another strong push. I think during the hype of all the BBBY, when it was really rallying, you had a day where it ran up to like 45. That's when I started to literally, like, I took profits on Bed Bath and I FOMO'd back in, bought a bunch of shares at like $164 or something like that. And I think that there was the opportunity there for it to run as well. When you have these like chain margin calls, there was a really good opportunity for that to happen. However, I think at that time there were also a lot of shares available to borrow. And so it could have just as easily been, someone's getting a quick margin call here. It's not like this system-wide thing where everybody's going to have this domino effect. It's going to just send the price to the moon. But anyway, long story short, had that event not happened, I think that we would have been right around this price. And so if you look at the trend from 6 months out, you can draw a really solid line, a couple of them along the bottom support, and up until maybe 3 days ago, it was holding right above that $70 or $37. The whole basket, like the whole meme basket, really started to drop. You had AMC drop. You had Bed Bath & Beyond, which is obviously, I don't think you're gonna get a rebound there. It's not anything like the situation it was last time. It was $6-7 where retail was really hoping on another double down from Ryan or whatever. Gonna skip that long story. So the whole meme basket started to come down. It was really holding that like $37 mark. It's trading a little bit below that. I do think that there's probably a little run coming right before earnings. Might get back up around that $40 whatever. If it does dip after earnings, I don't think you're too far off with what we're thinking with the October November timeline, where you could have this dip, you get back to like 100, 110, 120. You never know. Could even be lower, but that cycle is really lining up again for like November.
Well, I'm saying it can hold 32. It's been like the breaking point for me. If it breaks below 32, well, then obviously we have an issue. But that's a 128, right where you're at. So we've been holding this long, considering we went 6 months below it, and we were just dying in January, February. We're trying to get as much as we can, actually. Oh, me personally. And I know I don't have you for too much longer. I know we've been for an hour. I don't want to rush you. How much time we got?
What do we say? I've got.
I'm not going anywhere.
I've got a while.
I'll hang up when you hang up. That's all I'm going to tell you.
No.
So we're going to be here for 24
I'm
hours.
not going anywhere.
Just tell the whole crowd. No, I have 5 kids, just so you know. I have 5 kids. I have a great career. And I told my wife this morning, I said, hey, babe, I got to meet up with the guy. And she's like, if I had $1 for every time you said that. I go, no, I really got to meet up with the guy. I'm good with this. So, but hey, you're here. So I'm going to talk to you about something. This is something different. Only because I know I was hitting on it yesterday, and I've heard it. You know about Ryan Cohen, and you know about his group, right? Like, and they call him Larry's guys. That's Volution Capital. Are you familiar with what they're doing behind the doors right now?
No, run me through this. Okay. This is interesting.
This is Bed Bath & Beyond and GameStop. So I'm going to draw it back just so everyone knows who we're talking about here. I know we have a lot of people here, and they probably don't know all the missing pieces. So Larry Chang is Volution Capital. He is the director of all their money, basically, and he's been the managing partner there from the start. He actually started it, and he is the first one to fund Chewy. So he went ahead and gave money to Chewy, and that's Michael Day, which is known as Blake Day, Alan Adel, and Ryan Cohen. So they made Chewy. Back in 2014, they got funding, about $10 million, $20 million to start, and they sold for $3 billion. And what a hell of a company, 3 people, and they sold for $3 billion. Larry, since then, has acquired a couple of other companies. And by acquiring companies, he's acquired talent onto the Volution team. You familiar with Wayfair? They have their original founder. He's on the Volution Capital team. They also have people from Riot Gaming. They have people from Amazon. A guy named Sam something. I forget his name, but he's an Amazon guy. He's now with Volution Capital. These are high guys. So Volution Capital is the money, you would say, right? So they're a venture capitalist fund. They give all the money. They partnered up with L. Catterton. L. Catterton has $30 billion under management, assets under management. So these 2 guys are the funding companies for a small company called Dragonfly. Dragonfly acquires things. They acquire e-commerce companies.
They a SPAC?
I don't think it's a SPAC. I don't think they're bringing them to public that way. Okay. But they acquire things. And Dragonfly has funding right now.
Dragonfly Capital?
Yep. $500 million to $5 billion is what they've raised. They won't tell you the exact amount just yet. But the managing partners that are giving them money are them. You know who's on the board of directors for Dragonfly?
Larry Chang.
Larry Chang, Ryan Cohen, and Michael Day, which is he's going by Blake Day right now. So it's GameStop, it's Chewy, it's the boys, Dragonfly. So the theory is that Dragonfly is going to be making a bid for Bed Bath & Beyond and the BBBY baby section of it. That's the theory that's going out. Here's why. Dragonfly got funding on March 1st when they got their funding. And it was public news by L. Catterton. When they got that funding, 5 days later, Ryan Cohen writes a letter and buys Bed Bath & Beyond, the stock, to become an insider.
10 million, right.
Right. So to connect it is Ryan Cohen becomes an insider with Bed Bath & Beyond. He sees what's going on in the inside, and he gets 3 people assigned to the board. The 3 people he gets assigned to the board are prominent. All they do is M&A, mergers and acquisitions. That's what they're known for, and that's what they do. So what are they looking to do? Merge and acquisition something, as in to sell. So what are the indicators that give this away? So I have my own theory that it's not my own. I don't want to call it my own because Kyoto, who is one of my guys, he's one of my moderators on my channel, but Kyoto's my right-hand man. We brainstorm in Discord all day. And I know you have a crew, like you guys meet up, Rensol and everyone, and crying. So I have my crew, and we brainstorm just like anyone else would. And the insiders of Bed Bath & Beyond, and I'm talking about the CEO, the interim CEO, and 2 other managing directors, were buying shares when we were buying shares. I was buying shares at 465, 466. A lot of people on the channel were buying. I'm talking about thousands of shares, hundreds of shares. It was crazy. Even my twin brother, who hates me in the stock, he has a master's degree in economics, and he thinks I'm an idiot for buying GameStop. He's one of those, you're buying into Blockbuster, you're buying into Radio Shack. And I'm like, dude, let me do me.
Everybody?
Yeah, well, he bought GameStop at 120, and he sold at 160 the day before the split. I said, good job for you.
He still made more money than a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's happy to do it, and he was happy to do it. But he also has Bed Bath & Beyond at $4, and I think he sold it like $22. So he did really well.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this. I got off. I'm sorry. I do that. I rant. Sorry.
Yeah, but yes. So Dragonfly.
Yeah, Dragonfly. But now listen, insiders are buying shares, right? And they're buying them in July. If you go look at it, I believe the CEO bought like another 50,000, whatever it may be. They're buying shares all month long.
Okay.
August comes. They don't sell. One director did, and he got back his annual salary for the amount of shares he bought. But he only sold, I believe it was 16% of his shares. But
okay, let's walk through really quick.
Yeah.
Walk through that timeline again, and everybody that was inside.
Okay, so I have it on a different. I'm going to pull it up over here. You're on the screen, so I got to pull it up on a different one. Hold, give me 1 second.
I'm charting this really.
No problem.
Quick,
I'll even give you the dates.
Yeah, I need the.
Okay,
yeah, I need the
I'm going to do it right now.
So, everybody that was a part of.
Let's do it this way. I got you. Okay,
Capital,
so Bed Bath & Beyond, the minute, and this is going to be July. So in July, Sue Gove, who is the interim CEO, she buys 50,000 shares. Harriet Eldman buys 10,000. She's a director. Jeff Kerwin, director, buys 10,000.
Harriet Eldman?
Harriet Eldman, yeah. Edelman. Jeff
Edelman.
Edelman.
E-D-E,
oh, that's
Edelman.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm bad at reading names. Ask my guys.
That's okay. I am too.
Jeff Kerwan.
Okay. That was 10,000. Sorry.
That was 10,000.
Okay.
10,000 by Jeff, and then just a little 2,000 by Andrea Weiss. Is it Weiss or West?
Andrea Weiss. Yeah.
Yeah. She's a director. So all these guys are buying shares.
Isn't she the head of?
I'll tell you what she is. She is the independent director at Cracker Barrel. Yeah, I mean, she's somebody for Cracker Barrel.
I was thinking of something else. I was thinking of the director of or the CEO of Fidelity.
That's I don't know.
Person that was involved with. Okay. Anyway, so 50,000 for Sugov, 10,000 for Harry Edelman.
10, and then 2. Yeah.
10 and then 2. Okay.
Yeah. So this is just to give you a reference, right? They're all buying shares at 460, 490, 460, in that price range. The stock goes all the way up and it runs, right? It runs to $30. It actually hits $30. Nobody sells. Nobody's trying to take profits. And my theory is these guys actually know what's happening. They know what's about to happen. Dragonfly has an offer on the table. Ryan Cohen, who is them, has to sell his shares because he's an insider. He has insider information. This is where Jim Cramer comes into play. Jim Cramer comes out and says, we need to investigate Ryan Cohen because he has insider information. He's an insider and he's selling. He must know something. And that same breath, Jim Cramer tweets and talks and says, right now, Bed Bath & Beyond, you have to do an offering. You have to offer shares to the public and save yourself from bankruptcy. Well, the theory is they don't need to save themselves. They have a buyer right now. It's going to happen within the next 10, 20 days, like they said in their annual shareholders meeting or their quarterly shareholders meeting. But they've got news to put out. And my honest feeling right now at this moment in time is Dragonfly is buying a portion of this out because the timeline lines up. They didn't want to save themselves. They didn't offer shares to people. Jim Cramer wanted that so that Ryan can lose some money, and or Bed Bath & Beyond wouldn't do this deal that's about to be on the table. They're not trying to save themselves, Austin. They're actually trying to sell off everything they have, and maybe Volution Capital, the main guys for this, the money behind all this, is making a bigger move towards having more product to sell, whether it be home goods, domestic goods, and then in addition to the electronics and gaming that we already do. So on the e-commerce front, I can see this happening. I don't know how it happens, and I don't know how long it takes to happen, but I can see us being bigger. I've always dreamt bigger for GameStop. I have, ever since they started selling Ring doorbells, Razor scooters, and then drones and whatever else they're selling. But this is happening in real life, real time. So I just don't know the price of Bed Bath & Beyond, if it's going to go up over news like this, and or if there's a merger or a partnership coming. But I want to put it out there so that you're aware of the timeline of the directors involved, the money involved, and where it's coming from. Because it's all coming from Volution Capital. And those are the same directors for GameStop. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that that's happening right now.
Sue Gove.
Yes, sir.
She has a connection to Dragonfly or Volution?
No, she's just the interim CEO, and she has been for a while.
Okay.
But
what about Harriet Edelman?
No, they're just directors. They're just directors.
Okay,
it was just Ryan Cohen.
So who was that's what I want. I'm trying to figure out who was in Dragonfly or who was in.
Well, watch this. Watch this. I know where you're going with it. I got to go look that up too. Man, I have it. It's somewhere here. So what it is there's 3 directors that Ryan Cohen put on the board, right? So I have to go look for them really quick, and I'm gonna find them.
Okay, so the 10,000, 10,000, and 2,000. I believe these were just stock compensation.
You think it's just part like they're getting paid those stocks like a
that's just
like RSU
annually,
type deal.
Yeah, annually and semi-annually you get as part of your stock comp plan, you get like another X amount of shares, and so that stock offering. Actually, if you look at that on the SEC's website,
I can go to Edgar's and look it up.
There's a little tiny, and one of the people in the Discord group actually notified me of this, because you can see down at the bottom where it'll say like restricted stock units or RSUs, which like I have with my company.
Yeah, I get them too. I know what you're all about.
Yeah. So it'll say there's a little green statement down there at the bottom. So that could be what that was from, but I do believe those were just like every July they allot the second half.
Well, it actually makes sense. It lines up with the annual shareholders meeting that they had.
Yeah.
So that, because usually companies do that wherever their fiscal year is rotating. So that makes sense. My point is they didn't sell them on the run up, like most insiders would if they saw a huge run up from $4 worth of share all the way to there.
They have disclosure forms that have to be filed. Some of the rules there, like if you're doing a 13D or a 13, I'm gonna get my forms messed up here. If you're doing a 13, like if you're doing a disposition,
right,
and you are below, your disposition then drags you below 5%, you have to file an amended 13F, I believe. And so these dispositions of 10,000 shares or 50,000 shares, so you have the allotment, and that's what's filed with the SEC. But then you have a time frame depending on like you might not be able to sell those for a year.
Yeah, I have like 3 months. I have 3 weeks in that window, and then they get vested 25% each year,
right,
or 30% each year, depending on time and service, stuff like that. So I'm aware of that. I was using those indicators as in to say they're not selling, right? So maybe you might be on the right path as far as what they could sell and what they can't sell.
So it depends on. I know there's an accumulation total there of shares that they have, and it's possible that they're still holding those, and they may not have the intention to sell. I'm just I'm just trying to inform everybody of what.
Yeah, this is why we're here.
So it's totally possible, and there's always opportunities here for things to happen outside of this. So really, grand scheme, this is kind of what I'm looking at right now, is like grand scheme of things for Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah.
RC buys in March, files it. I think it was March 7th or something, or the filing came out.
Yeah, March 6th. He wrote the
something
letter
like that. And so he files. Let's say that there, that there might be some sort of partnership here going on with original investors, with Chewy and stuff like that, or the Dragonfly and with Larry Chang, and I'm sure these people are still in communication with Ryan. Like they talk about this. They give each other not financial advice, so to speak. But
right.
So there could definitely be a partnership or play going there. I know one of the big things that Ryan wanted to do in the beginning of March, when he was kind of getting into this, was to figure out how to break Bye Bye Baby off of Bed Bath & Beyond.
Correct.
Possibly sell that part of the business and then either restructure Bed Bath & Beyond or, whatever his plan was. I know there was a lot of pushback with Triton, the CEO at the time. I know there was a lot of pushback on that plan. So it's quite possible here that you have to look at the two relationships and the two investment choices that have been made by Ryan and treat them as their own conditions and their own situations. I'm not saying you, I'm saying you in general, whenever you look at this.
Trust me, you could say me, and I wouldn't even take it that way.
Okay, all right, good. You seem like you're not easily, offended and stuff, so
no, not
I
at
appreciate
all,
that. So anyway, the GameStop investment, bar none, like, dude is not selling. Dude's not selling.
Yeah, no one is.
He's committed. He's the company is definitely positioning itself for a much bigger turnaround. Now, the thing with Bed Bath & Beyond seemed like $6 or $7 was where we're at right now, or when I say where we're at right now, I mean like prior to this most recent run up,
right,
was like a 2017 low or something like that. So getting in even at $18 or like sub 20 was not a bad decision. And again, this is before the most recent earnings report that really started to bring concern about the longevity or the going concern of Bed Bath & Beyond. So if he's got this plan and he wants to get in, and all of a sudden he starts kind of bumping heads and leadership is kind of reluctant, and he's not, maybe it's not as easy or the deal is not as promising as he thinks it might be, and then they have a bad earnings report, and I mean the guy was underwater big time,
right,
for a long time. Bed Bath & Beyond has a lot of debt. They there are all these different things that are indicating, like, and if there is going to be a turnaround, or if there is going to be some sort of sell-off of Bed Bath & Beyond, like if they decide to sell Bye Bye Baby and they want to try and restructure, maybe they can figure out a long-term, but they would have to come out with that immediately, like, we're going to sell Bye Bye Baby, we're going to take the profits, sell off some of the debt, and then we're going to try and maybe transition e-commerce or become like the home supplier for the e-commerce or something. They're going to have to give that, and at that point, maybe what you're talking about here, like, get in when it's like right there at rock bottom, buy the company, and then there's only upside when you get in. But yeah. My question, like, I keep coming back to this, man, like, there can be all of these great plans that you have. Why didn't the guy buy it at freaking $5, man? Why wasn't there some sort of,
so
like, you're
aware of like the swing rule, right? Like, I know you are.
Yeah,
there's all these rules for insiders and how they can sell and make profits, and that's why he lost half his profits. If he would have gave his investment, like, I believe it was like 3 more weeks or something to that effect, he would have made like triple the money.
Yeah, it was September.
Yeah, whatever it may be. But it doesn't matter. Like, in my mind, the way I see it, like, yeah, it might not work out. Maybe he got in, he saw what it was, and he said, hey, I got to get the hell out of here. I'm an insider at the moment. I see what the makings are. Let me get out. Right? You never know how the burrito's made until you're in it. But the other part about this guy is, if it is working out the way we're saying it, I'm just saying if it is. That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. These guys might be geniuses. I'm telling you, Austin, they might be geniuses, and they might be coming for the throat of Amazon. And if they're going to not, well, think about this. and this is just for us, fair thinking. Out of all the hires we've done, all the poaching we've done of top executives on the upper echelon at multiple levels, we are winning because someone's losing. We know the weaknesses of Amazon. We know the weaknesses of even Chewy. Like, you got to think, they lost 80 executives. Like, there's so much out there that we're gaining, whether it be through Zulily and now, I mean, shit, there's so much money out there wants to invest with GameStop, whether it be the marketplace, Immutable X, and gaming. I look at it on all fronts. There's just so many avenues to make money. How are you not excited? And you're obviously excited because you're still holding, and I'm so excited about that. I mean, that makes my whole damn night right there, because people were asking me, like, you know, did you take profits?
GameStop. My new position in GameStop is just around like 2,700 shares at like 160.
That's awesome.
So I started with 72, man. At the beginning of all this. I mean, that's probably.
Well, you know, I've never told anybody how many shares I have, Austin. Can I tell you that? I've never told anybody.
Yeah,
and you said it, so I've been here for 2 years, and they can do the math. I started out with 13 shares one day, and I was like, all right, that's where I started, and I've never stopped. My wife is a known. Before the split, I was already triple digits, over 500, almost 700, 800, like crazy amounts, and then it's in the thousands. And so it's like, what do you do now? What do you do now? I'm still buying. I got paid the other day. I had no other bills to go. I quit cable. You guys want to talk about diamond hands? I've lived my life diamond so that I can afford not to sell my shares. That's the best part about it.
That's what's up.
So diamond hands is a lifestyle. It's not just a proclamation that people have because they don't sell. It's, you better change up what you do and how you do it. We're the realest ones. So I just want to tell you, I don't have much more to hit you over the head with other than fundamentals. If you ever want to talk about them, I have this guess on the amount that GameStop's going to come out with right now as far as earnings. I feel like sales will be 1.224 billion. Just so you know, I have guessed it on the dollar, well, to the second decimal. So I guessed I believe it was like 2.8 billion or 2.28 billion in December. Like I actually guessed it like right on the money twice now. This will be my third one if I got it. But I always want to say it in front of somebody so somebody can hold me to the fire on there. But what's there to argue about, man? Even if it's lower, I'll just buy more. It's really that simple. They're putting in the chat right now. 1.224 billion. Hey, by the way, one other thing from one of my guys here. He says that those buy orders for Bed Bath & Beyond were actual buy orders on 7/7, as he calls it. The RSUs were all filed on 7/7 and later, but that there were buy orders per the SEC docs. So someone's looking it up, but it doesn't matter. It's neither here nor there. My point was that the theory is they're not selling. They see your camera is out, or that was a while ago. Oh, you're back, though.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Man, I get messages late. I don't look down. I just look up. That's it.
No, I was chatting with you yesterday, and by the time you read my message, like 15 minutes later.
Bro, what do you want me to tell you? I'm going, and I'm always on delay. You know, so there's a couple of things about the channel you don't know. You know, people don't even know that I exist. Well, people know I exist. Other people, I'm on like these banned lists because I don't speak well of AMC. Who cares, to be honest? But I've been GameStop only for a long time. And I read every chat. So I read every chat that comes through, and I won't end the show until that happens. This is one of the first shows ever where I'm not reading every chat. This one and the annual shareholders meeting. I couldn't handle the annual shareholders meeting. It was 10,000, 11,000 people in here. I was the only one willing to show it. Nobody was willing to show it. They're like, you can't, you're not allowed to. And I was like, I'm just going to show it because it's GameStop and I'm the owner of the company. So come get me. But that's the way it's been. Let me ask you a different question because I'm going to finish up here.
Sure.
And
man, I'm okay with I don't mind chatting with you. We can keep going too. It's fine.
We can do it. We can do it forever then. Well, do you have a GameStop wallet?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have a
Hey, can I tell you something? Congratulations on being honest. A lot of people won't be honest with me. They're like, no, I got one. And I go, well, send me the address.
So I am.
It's okay.
I'm not like that, man. I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to say shit, which kind of ruffling my feathers with Super Stonk a little bit.
Yeah, it's all good. You know. Are you kidding? I tell people I don't DRS, and it's like I kissed their mom or something. So it's okay, though. So you don't have a wallet, that's fine. So half my content you won't understand when I'm interviewing these content creators. I just put focus on GameStop, the company, the business itself. The business model is going great, by the way, as far as how they're doing e-commerce. And if people don't know what they're doing there and how it's all connected, the hub for information and technology is honestly, it's actually like Boston, right, Massachusetts, where all the money is and all the smart guys. But then e-commerce, that's Washington. And we just happen to have a hub everywhere because Washington, that would be, Amazon, Costco, Zulily, and GameStop. We're going to be big. And I don't think people really figure that part out. But partnerships with Jeremy Todd and Dragonfly, I'm still reading into. So Dragonfly is something that I want people to pay attention to moving down the road. I have Volution Capital on my thing. I had it all lit up and everything. But I actually have to take it off so people don't see what I'm... because I don't want to put you off the screen. But there was so many people that were partnered up in there. There's 15 directors, right? And they have a portion of everything. So can I just say GameStop's going to sell everything? Can I go that route? Because I do GameStop first. I don't know if you know that mantra. It's something we do in retail. It's GameStop first.
The last time...
Yes, sir.
Yesterday was the first time that I saw your stream, man.
Oh, don't worry. So here you go. GameStop first. And it's for everyone who's here. If you're ever going to buy something, you just go check GameStop first. You got to see if they sell it. We don't know what they're selling every day. It's changing every day. But before you go to Amazon or before you go to Costco.com and or Sam's Club or Walmart, Target, you're going to go ahead and go to GameStop first and see if they sell it. You just never know. They might end up selling whatever the hell you're looking for. And that's the way it's been working for me. So I was looking for a Ring doorbell, and Amazon had it for $99. I went to GameStop. They had it for $99. Free delivery. I didn't have to subscribe to the goddamn Amazon Prime to get free delivery. So I think they're competing on all the right levels. I'm going to allow the chat. All you guys in the chat right now, if you guys have a question for Austin or myself, put the @ whatever thing, and I'll read your question. I know they did have questions while we were talking, but I let it go. But I'm going to give them time to type it up right now while you talk. Go ahead.
So, I mean, just echoing that, I really think the... people think of Amazon, if you ask them 25 years ago, like, what do you think of Amazon? People are going to tell you it's this secondhand bookstore, the online bookstore. People wanted to go into, Barnes & Noble and actually feel the book and look at it. And very rarely do they want to actually, like, buy a book online without, it might be cheaper or whatever, but the shipping costs were expensive. And so it didn't really make sense. And then what is Amazon today? GameStop is in the position to do, even factoring in like cash burn, the fact that you're debt free with exception of very little and a talent pool as big as they have, dude, the moon is ironically, why stop at the moon? And I'm not talking about like squeezing and I'm just saying you can do anything that you want to do if you have the right leadership team, if you have the means to do it. And I don't ever want to try and say like, oh, they're going to do this or they're going to do that, because that's narrowing the realm of possibility to just what my opinion is. I'm not on the board. I'm not on I'm not in the leadership circle. I can't tell you what they are doing. I think the approach that they're taking is the right approach, which is just shut the hell up until you can let your actions speak for you.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. But long story short, the financial position in GameStop, especially right now, because people will tell you what they want, but we're in a recession. Let's just cut to the chase. All retailers have an abundance of inventory. They stocked up on a lot of inventory throughout COVID because it was so hard to come by, and you didn't want to be left without it. You wanted to have a surplus of it. So the fact that they had more inventory on hand is not a surprise. Every retailer had inventory on hand. So you're going to see slight prices for things being slashed and cut, and that's just typical when you have a lot of inventory like that. But so aside from maybe sales data that might come in a little bit lower, like the entire market is lower. So the fact that they're still able to compete with levels that the rest of the retail industry is putting up, and some of the leaders in the industry is putting up, is all the confirmation you need that the company is not struggling by any means.
Yeah, so whenever I do my analysis as far as how much money they're going to make for the quarter and or the year, I factor in 12 to 13% for inflation, 5% on the product itself, and then we just have an emphatic following. So we found money to drive a marketplace, but you got to remember, GameStop is currently sitting on $1 billion, right, give or take, and then 500 million on revolving credit that has not been touched. They actually did what they say they were going to do. They gave you a marketplace in a year. They gave you 2 fulfillment centers. And the mass product, I don't have a problem with it, because if they had a cash burn of $300 million, they have an increase on inventory $400 million, right? I mean, they're sitting on almost $1 billion in inventory, but that actually helps you out with supply chain issues. So I think our infrastructure wasn't built for e-commerce initially, and I believe COVID pointed that out. We had everything out of order on the website. It was a cluster fuck. But the in-source logistics that they've embodied from the Chewy platform is really showing up right now, as far as getting the product to your doorstep in a timely fashion, no matter the size, no matter the weight. I think people take all that for granted. That's why Amazon works in a way, but they don't have a retail foot. Amazon tried to buy out Whole Foods, and they tried to get a storefront. We already have it. So we're doing it the reverse way, and we're doing it the right way. And the whole stack it high, watch it fly, I'm good with that. But if you lead with the dog, it's okay. And that's a phrase that you use in retail, but it's you just put out whatever you have the most of and you try to sell it and see if it works. It doesn't really work that way. You want to lead with products that people want. And right now people want premier computer components and those things that you can't find on Newegg or any other website right now, because chips are out and streaming things are out. So, but we're here in front of you today, and we have a question. You ready, Austin?
Yeah, man, go
for it. So this question comes from one of the moderators on Superstock. I don't know if you know him, but I know him. He's here all the time. His name's Badass Trader. He does some DD every day. He has a DD thing about I believe it's called the roof or the level for death to hedges or something. I don't know what it's called. I forget. Okay. But who cares? Here we go. Thoughts on hostile, and he says hostile private equity in this whole thing. Do you have a thought on it?
I don't know who hostile private equity is.
He's just calling private equity. How do you feel about private equity in the play with GameStop at all? Like, if someone is somebody doing something through like private equity firm? Has there been? Well, that's what he's asking. He's asking if you think there's anything going on behind the scenes.
Oh man, that's talk about a shot in the dark there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can obviously that's always a big factor there. You never know when private interests are gonna surface and I don't think that GameStop is right now in the position to be. I don't think that they would want to shake things up that much or introduce new influence, because I mean you have to remember when we were back in January, December, this was the narrative of the blockbuster company coming to file bankruptcy, and so when Ryan got in, when he did, it was like. It's a term that in accounting that we call big bath accounting, and it's like if you're going to take a loss, if you're going to do big write-offs, if you're going to take a lot of expense, you're going to have a bad quarter. Investors like to see go ahead and take the loss, and then go ahead and take a bunch of like restructuring charges and do this. Show us that like you're at the bottom and you've got a turnaround coming. And I think that's right where Ryan got in. And so when you're already on kind of the upswing and you're now 18 months into this development, to introduce a new private equity interest, especially if they wanted to exert some sort of significant control over things, that may not be received that well. So aside from maybe like, and at the same time, why would GameStop need any sort of cash infusion?
They don't need anything.
So
yeah.
So I don't think the odds are stacked in that favor at this moment.
Sure. Here's another question for you. Have you ever met DFV, or have you ever had contact with him?
I have not. No. Aside from the people that you've seen in the interviews, when I did the interview with Dr. T, there was, I had ongoing interaction with Dave Lauer for a few months. We'll shoot emails back and forth to each other. Still got a couple of people from his dev team and stuff that I talk with, and there were a couple of lawyers in the Superstonk mod group back when like Red was the moderator, and for that whole fiasco. They were actually like really high level, and I had no idea who they were. They really stayed anonymous, but it was crazy because I was in the middle of my stride with House of Cards, and I was pushing out all of this stuff, you know, trying to get peer reviews on things. And there was a guy in there, Stonk U2. You know, a lot of people probably know him. He's working with Dave now. But I didn't know who he was at the time. I didn't know he was a lawyer. And someone had mentioned, you know, Dr. T, after I wrote House of Cards. They're like, you know, you think this is crazy, you should read this book. And so I read the book after Stonk U2, who's Alex Cohen, no relation to Ryan Cohen.
Right.
After Alex said, you have an interview with her next Thursday. And so like I literally posted House of Cards, and then someone, you know, referenced this article. He just reached out to her in his free time and got a hold of her and set up the interview. So I had to read the book over, you know, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then talk with her. So Dr. T, Dave Lauer, basically everybody that Super Stonk is familiar with, but no, never DFE.
That's fine.
No,
I mean,
I think he's pretty much. I don't know if he would have like backlash if he poked his head out, or if he were to be. The problem is you can't be honest really anymore. Like if DFV were to come on and speak his mind about, you know, what's happened with GameStop or you know, anything else, he's going to say things that the new crowd, you know, will shun him for. And honestly, the guy made a killing off of it, and I don't know why he would want to surface again, you know. But
right. Well, I tell you, he's either sitting on a stack full of money or he's sitting on a stack full of shares. Either way, I would love to be that guy today.
Yeah, exactly.
But I respect everything that's come out, even in the people that you're naming right now. You know, David Lauer gets a bad rap because he goes onto the AMC channels and stuff. But I saw him in an interview once, and he said, he told him straight to his face. He told Matt straight to his face. He said, I wouldn't buy AMC, but I did buy GameStop. And Matt just smiled. And he was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, because he was just looking for clicks. It's different, man. When you're out here with real investors and you're giving out, and I don't even want to say advice, giving out information, people can interpret that any way. So if they want to villainize you or turn it against you. But this crowd right here is asking you, Austin, if you can get me to DRS, or if I could get you, someone wants to donate a lot of money to charity. They just know that I'm not that I'm against it. I'm not against it. I just don't find time in my day to call my broker and say send some more shares over. So that's just it. I'm pretty simple about that.
My opinion is what I said earlier, and perhaps I was trying to be too, you know, PC? Gentle about the issue.
No, you're fine.
But I am not convinced that DRS is the MOAS key. I'm not. I think I know that all these brokers can be in cahoots, and they can have, you know, relationships with market makers, and there's always opportunity for market makers to be selling shares to brokers, or supplying shares to brokers that are not, you know, coming directly from the company. But look at, you know, yeah, DRS can be true ownership of your shares, but if 50% of the float is DRS, then let's assume a very small amount of people are actually trading, you know, from a computer share account. Look at the volume since, I don't know, June of last year to June of this year.
The minute we got into the 1000, the Russell 1000.
Yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. So look at volume from that time going to where we are now. Look at price from that time to where we are now. And you should see that effect, especially now that we're, you know, 50% is DRS. We've had days trading like volume. I don't know what volume that right now, 3.4 million pre-split. That's 750K, 780. Yeah. What is that?
I'll tell you, I have it over here.
Time,
you're down. You're down. If you do it by 4, you're at 800,000.
Yeah, 800. So
this is awesome. Everybody's in here watching the channel, not watching the stock. That's why nobody's buying.
Yeah, so
no, you're fine.
So you have where's that volume coming? I mean, is it the people that haven't DRS that are trading more? Like, has day trading gone up when computer share lock in the flow is going on. Dr. T, I'm not going to ever speak for Dr. T because she is plenty capable of doing that herself. I'm not even going to tell you what my impression of Dr. T was because I'm fully supportive of her. She has been huge in terms of like confirming a lot of the stuff that we were just talking about. Like she brought actual evidence to this. Her beef with the DTC is you don't know where your ownership lies when you're dealing with, the certificates in name of the actual certificate. So the best thing to do is to direct register your shares, especially if you're wanting to hold them and you don't want to, do anything with trading, and you just want to hold your shares and know that they're yours. Like that's completely, up to you. And it's the right way to go to ensure that the shares are in your name. But Dr. T was not giving advice on what to do so that we would all be able to celebrate MOAS.
Right.
She wasn't. Like I've never asked her that question directly because I knew the answer to the question based on talking with her in the interview. When she peer reviewed the House of Cards, her question to me at the end was like, because I'm just trying to make sure, like, are we on the same page? Is there anything in here that I'm throwing out that you're just like, this is a big red flag and, it's going to crumble your entire argument?
Yeah, that's called, just so everyone knows, when he says that's peer checking. Okay, that's when you send something to your peers and they read it and they go over it and they analyze it and they hit you with the truth, the hard truth. So that's what you're talking about. Yeah, go ahead. I hear you.
Yeah. At the time I was literally on vacation in Myrtle Beach. I was sitting on a beach and she called me and we had like a 30-minute conversation about what the House of Cards really was. And nobody's ever heard this story. Like nobody's ever heard this. It was a conversation I had with her. And she kept asking me, like, you keep referring to the House of Cards. What, in your opinion, is the House of Cards? And I was just telling her about the foundation that this is built on is not a concrete, like, we can't go through here and audit every single step. We can't point, share A or serial number 1 to this owner and serial number 2 to this owner. And because of that, the system is not operating on a solid foundation. You don't have any control over any of it. And I think what she was wanting me to really focus on, like really start to learn more about, was how the settlement system works, how the NSCC is at play, and how, like, I'm hitting on this focal point of like short selling and how they're able to get around, reporting short interest and stuff like that. But then really it came down to how the settlement process worked, what happens when shares fail to deliver, which is like the 3 components of her book. If people that are listening haven't read it, you need to read it. There's short selling, there's failing to deliver, and then there is like this cycle of a lot of stuff that happens off of lit exchanges, stuff that we have no idea about. And when that goes through like the shadow of it's all hid behind the market maker's shadow of transparency. Like they don't have to do anything to be transparent about it. She had this really like pivotal moment with me on the phone where I knew I wasn't at the level of understanding that she was at with how this whole process works. And her House of Cards was a much bigger, more pervasive problem of how the entire trading industry works, not like, DRS your shares so you'll trigger a short squeeze.
Right. No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, she wants DRS to happen. She wants everything to be a DRS so that we don't have the need for these other issues cannot arise if your shares are held within your name. They're tied to you. I
get that part. That's part of like where people have these pipe dreams, and I only say pipe dreams because it's almost impossible to change the system. Where they say, we should have everything on blockchain, right? So there's a written record, and you can keep track of every single trade, and none of this can happen. I said it's just not a realistic way of looking at things. Because there's a portion of the market that is scheduled for gambling and smoke and mirrors. I mean, that's what it's there for. That's what it's known for. That's how they make billions of dollars. If you want to shut down $1 billion industry, I'm going to wish you guys the best of luck. I mean, I can't do it DRS in a couple of shares at a time. But I will say this. DRS for me, what it does do, what we said earlier, it gives you an amount of shares that are out there. And once you own 100% of the float via DRS, I mean, what does that really tell you after that? I mean, at that point, it's like, hey, somebody's passing around one share to the next person to the next, which you've already equated to when you say short everything, and we're talking that out. They're loaning out the share and then reloaning. Do you still think reg show even matters? I'm curious.
No, I don't think it ever mattered. I think it was passed because it had enough of a reg show in concept would have removed all of the problems. Being able to, appropriately mark short sales, and like if you could do that with 100% accuracy, which obviously, if you've read my DD, you can't. And then to not only have like the accurate reporting of it, but the actual settlement, like what happens during that settlement process. And that's not even really, when all of this was being theorized, that was completely outside of, what you could do with ETFs. like there are completely separate rules surrounding ETFs and what market makers are allowed to do with ETF arbitrage. I don't think that reg show is, even when you have a security on the threshold list, like that doesn't even seem to be really doing.
Well, that was my next question. People try to use, because if that were the case, you could use the threshold list as your way to invest. You can just go over there and just invest into anything on the threshold list, because eventually it's going to cover and spike up if that were the case. Did your batteries just die? Well, I hope you can hear me. Wasn't saying private equity again.
Sorry, man. Headset just cut out.
No, you're fine. What I was saying is if that was the case, then people would just invest on all the companies on the threshold list with the idea that they're all going to have to be delivered real soon, or else you're going to be in big trouble. So you just go buy it wherever it's at, and it's going to go up. So if it didn't really matter. So, and I'm just saying that because I had that whole theory back in the day when I was reading your DD, as far as if you were like Citadel, or if you were even BlackRock, or if you were Vanguard, you loan out your shares, and then when you loan them, you buy them back again. Like it's a cycle. You're buying your own lent out shares. That would create double the short for the shorts. And I'm curious if they did this for years or for months or for a period of time. There's no unwinding that. That's an issue for me.
No.
But I want to touch on something too, because this is wild, and just a theory or your idea or even your opinion. AMC had this Ape Equity unit come out. And we all know it's a vehicle to drive equity out of the stock because they wouldn't give shareholders the right, or shareholders wouldn't give them the right to dilute and offer more shares. Because this is how we're running businesses this day and age. We're just doing offerings. We're not actually running a business and making money. But when doing that and coming up with this idea to drive money out of it, I was reading that because it's a preferred equity, they don't even have to deliver it because no one's going to hold their feet to the fire to deliver it. Is that true, or do you know anything about that?
So the deal with preferred shares over common shares, and this is just what I know from grad school. I have a master's in accounting, if people were wondering or asking about that. So the accounting for this is that preferred shares, they don't have voting rights. They don't have the ability. You cannot cast votes. But you get preferred liquidation, like if the company has to liquidate. So AMC goes under and they have, anything to piece out from, they sell off all their assets and they have cash to distribute. Preferred shareholders get the first go around with that, and then common shareholders. But as far as like the actual like value and what's coming from this is I just think this whole thing with AMC has just been a big joke, really. Long story short, the not to completely rehash what we had talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But all they can do now is appeal to meme investors, and so anything new that people can cling to and think like, oh, we can get hype about this, gives them the opportunity to pump the stock price a little more. I don't know how they turn around as a company. Like, all the signs are that, they're not going to be profitable it's like they're red flags everywhere. Insiders selling shares, Adam Aaron selling shares. Adam Aaron has a closer relationship with meme investors than he does with, people to turn his company around. Like, I don't know where the play, like the long-term play in this thing is for, other than it, the stock price of Ape or the stock price of AMC might run up a little bit because, they could just as easily bait and trap people. Like they can go in there and pump up the price of Ape from like whatever it is to, they could pump it up like 30%, and people are going to FOMO into it because they're going to FOMO into everything that something must be happening.
No, something that moves, anything that moves.
Yeah,
if you blink your eyes, they're going to come over and they're going to do it. So yeah, I know all about that.
And so I have no idea other than just to kind of create a little more hype. Like if it was supposed to be something for the long term and it was supposed to be actually professional, they wouldn't call it fucking Ape.
Right.
Like, come on, it's ridiculous.
No, I've been saying it's a play to the masses. That's it.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to think that leadership team has no clothes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, these guys are out for lunch.
Yeah, they don't have it.
So now they're explaining this to me, and what they were trying to say was, on the private equity that gets involved with GameStop and or short hedge funds coming in and trying to manipulate or manufacture a takeover, would you ever see anything like that? Because hostile takeovers, they've tried to happen in the past, and so he's trying to get an idea, like they did with Sears, like they did with Blockbuster, and now you have Bed Bath & Beyond on the cusp. But AMC, I even think, is infiltrated. But GameStop, I think Ryan Cohen is, my knight in shining armor at this point. I'm going to ask this question a different way for you because you're a GameStop investor. How confident are you with GameStop and Ryan Cohen not selling shares? I know you said he's not going to, but a lot of people, the rug pull crowd, he's going to pull the rug. He's going to pull the rug. I think it'd be the biggest mistake of his life because I think it's the greatest thing ever. But I was curious how you feel about it.
Think about it like this, right? So he's vested. It's his new brand image. It is something that he's re-identified himself from, being the Chewy founder to the chair at GameStop. And for him to take in this big of a stake and to make sure that his position on the board is at the head of the board, to make sure that these are being facilitated the way they're supposed to, not like one of these like, well, let's just buy in a little bit, try and get some directors there and see if we can shake things up, but literally like to revamp the company and be there for that revamping. I think when he sold Bed Bath & Beyond, it tarnished a bit of his reputation with these other groups, these other people like us that are saying like he's going to be the champion and he's going to turn everything around. I think that was just like people were hyped up about GameStop and they thought that they were going to be able to do the same thing with Bed Bath & Beyond. So I think that is, when people say that I'm losing faith in him for being able to do everything he says he's going to do, like I don't ever remember him doing anything, making any public announcement with like, we're going to do
intent,
things better.
Yeah, with no intent on business.
There's no intent. So let's just make sure that distinction is clear. And then second, with the whole GameStop thing and like the fact that he's still holding his shares, like yeah, absolutely. But I was thinking about this. If I had $150 million and I bought a stake in Bed Bath & Beyond, and I fought to get my way with it, and it didn't work out, and I was under my investment by 70%, and that thing squeezed, and I had the opportunity to sell and make some money, I know I'm going to take a hit to a bit of my reputation, right? So what is the way that I can, how can I try to alleviate that, is to take those gains that I didn't know if I was going to get and dump them into the company that I'm known for.
Sure.
So there's always the possibility there that like what would happen if instead of like 100,000 shares, if it was 1 million next time.
Well, I'm gonna ask some personal questions. You ready?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
All right, first personal question: when are you gonna do some more DD?
So House of Cards, part 4. So here's the scoop, and it's straightforward. When I started to read up on, like I told you, coming out of like House of Cards part 3, I was really, secure in my understanding and thinking that overly secure, I should say, in that options weren't playing as much of a role. And so when I started seeing like how this options activity and really like looking into like the consequences and potentials for gamma squeezes, and I started digging in, and a lot of this research has already been done, and I didn't know that. So looking through a lot of the DD on Superstonk, one of the things I hated about being a moderator on Reddit was that one of my main roles was to go through there and scan through DD and make sure that it was like legit. And that's a very dangerous thing to do, because it gives me this like position to say, this isn't worth considering, that's not worth considering.
You control the narrative.
Yeah. And I didn't want that, because I don't know everything. I don't, especially like when it came to options, I had a much weaker understanding of how options could play into this. And so when a lot of these posts about options were coming out, I wouldn't even really give it a second thought. Like I wouldn't give it, so when there were articles about NFT arbitrage and, the fact that these market makers have this rule where they can just go ahead and short the shares and then buy them back a week later. And that's like, that's total, or they can create an ETF by borrowing shares. The ETF is completely empty. And then, they're going to fill it with these 10 shares, and then they can sell the ETF, but the shares that are supposed to be in that aren't in them, and they have up to a week to find those shares and put them in there. So obviously when I started thinking about this, it was like, wow, this is crazy. And so that led into the like the options conversations and everything. And so I started talking about it, and I was starting to write some DD on it, and I had a couple people within Superstonk say that a lot of this stuff has already been done. And so it started off first as like I had some people that were sending me some links to some of these better articles. Some of them were not articulated in a way that made it easy to understand, which is, if there's anything that I will stand for with my reputation with Superstonk, it's not that I was necessarily breaking new news. I was just taking really complicated things and making them easier for people to understand. So one of the goals with House Cards 4 was to take like some of the stuff that I was finding out, and then some of the stuff that I was being referred to with the options data and the how options are playing into the price, was to take that and kind of reverse engineer a lot of them, and then pump out House of Cards Part 4. And on top of that, I found some really deep shit on FTDs and what happens when companies are facing like the failure to deliver. Like the can gets kicked down the road for 70 days. Like they had a FTD on the books and it stayed there for 70 days. And I was finding all these. In fact, there's a really good FINRA report for Pershing, I believe, that like details just how desperately, it's like 2 pages long, how desperately they went to the lengths they went to avoid that FTD showing up. Like not only were they compliant, but the other parties involved were compliant with hiding all this shit as well. And so I was trying to find the best way to like piece all this together, and I started to catch a shitload of backlash from Superstonk when I started to bring up like the options conversations, or I started asking for information on options. I don't know if they were just trolls, I don't know if it was just like people that were like they joined 3 or 4 months ago and all they heard was options bad, DRS good, and so any conversation inside of that. And so for a while there, I joined this other Discord group, and I really started to like dive into just learn as much as I could about the option stuff. And while I can put together a new post, like I could write House of Cards 4 right now, it doesn't do a whole lot of good if I can't pinpoint what's happening with the stock, because there's just so many sources of information, from all these different places that don't always align. So if I did anything like DD wise, if I did anything, it would be another like House of Cards Part 4 with options, ETFs, FTDs, and how that's factoring into this like shit show with the NSCC and
Let me tell you something.
kind of like a start finish there.
Austin, I'm infinitely smarter than the next guy, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I know, like I do the DD on your post, and I know why you don't post, and when you're gonna post the next one. You ready?
What's that?
There's a limit. There's a limit of images you can put on a post. So when you reach your max, that you're done with that post, and then you go, you know what? I got to write a whole new DD to get more images on this post, and then I got to write a whole new DD to get more images on this post. So your next DD will only have 20 images, and then we'll have to wait for the next part. That's what the hell I'm doing. It's all correlated. That's how I read charts, bro. I read the DD that way. So I'll see you on whenever you want to put up your next 20 images. Okay. Somebody's got to give me credit for that.
That's
right
true.
There. I broke that down. Yeah. Now I know it's coming.
That's true.
And if and when you figure out what you want to put out and how you want to do it. Listen, Superstock's not for me. And a lot of people know this. They banned me a year ago because I put up a post and I was talking good stuff on GameStop and everybody was excited. And then at the end of it, I said something bad about AMC. And apparently you can't do that there. I didn't know that at the time. And even Badass, who's one of the mods there, he's like, Marantz, just we'll resubmit. We'll get you free. Just hit me up. And I go, nah, I'm good without it. So I've been traveling this world without Reddit. I've just been doing YouTube. And I'll tell you, not many people like my face or my delivery, whatever it may be. And that's okay. But if you ever want the information, I'll let a Tobitt tell you. You guys go find him. He's everywhere. He's on Reddit, his old stuff, which I'm going to be linking in the description of this video when we're done. Additionally, I got to cut this up. I won't cut this. I don't do edits or cuts. I don't do any of that stuff. So people will see a natural conversation happen in real time. And it's going to be up forever, though. I will tell you that much. I know it's 11:17 on my end, and I know I have certain things I have to do today, even with the show and everything else. And I never want this show to end, only because a lot of people get some information that they need. The true information here is you're still holding, I'm still holding, and there's about on my channel there's only like 4,000 people that watch, but all those guys are holding, right? That's a lot of people for me. And that's 4,000 investors. Awesome. There are no bots. We built it brick by brick, this whole community, and I just want to thank you because even putting you on the channel today brought added views to GameStop and the ideas of what they're doing and how it's going. So remember, you're one of the founding fathers of the DD, and that's never going to go away. You can take that to the bank with you and to the grave.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir. I just want to thank you for your time, and from me and the whole community, I appreciate you, Austin. Is there anything you want to say on your way out the door?
Yeah, I again, thanks for the opportunity, man. I'm so glad that I was forwarded and got to catch up with you. Like I said, the reason why I'm here, just because you're not in it for yourself. That's what it seems like. You're spreading information.
I appreciate that, man. I've been trying to fight the masses with that shit, that narrative for a long time.
It's so much more that I could say, about like the super stonk stuff and everything. I wish that we had the ability to talk more freely, which is one of the reasons why if it's not hype driven and DRS driven and GameStop's to the moon driven, I miss a lot of that with the older subs and with some of the older mods there. But I do know that they're dealing with a much bigger user base, and there's a lot more going on. So I just appreciate you give me the platform and let me kind of speak a little bit more of my mind. And I still believe in everything that this whole thing started on.
All right, so let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna tell you something. You have my phone number, and I'm not joking. I know you're a grown man with a family, and so am I. But if you text me and you say, Marantz, let's go ahead and let's hang out, let's have a conversation, the door is open. Always open.
Appreciate it, man.
Good. And it's not just on days when the stock is blowing up and people want to talk about it then and cheer it on. We're talking about days like this where there's no volume, but we have plenty of information, plenty of people that need it. There's people out there that need to cope with this. This is why I started the channel. I don't know if you know this. If obviously you don't, I'll tell you. I was on Reddit in November, and I was posting, and my brother and I were going back and forth because he's my identical twin brother. So if you ever see a guy who looks like me but talking bad about GameStop, it's not me. But we're going at it, and he's like, we're doing Reddit stuff, and then I was like, you know what? I go watch YouTube, and no one's talking the way I want to hear it. No one's giving me the information the way I want to say it. And I was going crazy because they were talking about other stocks, right? It wouldn't matter if it was cost or and there's so many other ones that pumped and dumped, even Rocket Mortgage, you name it, just one day up, one day down. And I'm just like, man, I want to get this out. So I started a channel. I just started talking into a microphone in my kitchen. And that changed and morphed into what we are today. I never thought I would be sitting right here in front of you. You saw the message I sent to you months ago. And I was referencing that because I was like, hey, man, I'm just reaching out because I'm a fan or whatever it may be. But it's more than that. It's just we want to get the information right. And even if it's not right, sometimes where people are wrong, admit it and come and fall back on it. But you can't go wrong with documented facts. I learned this from a lot of people. Where you read an SEC filings and we just go back on that. I'm not going with dreams and hopes and wishes of explaining market manipulation. I'm over here on the fundamental side of the table. And this side of the table is pretty packed and it feels pretty good. Yeah. And I love it because it's what we fall back on. That added value that is the MOAS talk and all that manipulation talk, that's added value at this point. That means if it does happen, I'm awesome. But even without it, GameStop's dynamite. So the door is open to you. Dude. The door's open to you, Austin. I'm telling you, man, you call me, you text me, whatever you want to do. We can sit down, we can chill, we can talk, and we can get the information out. I appreciate you.
Good deal, man.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
And I have a saying I have to say every time I end a stream, and I am ending the stream right now for everyone in the chat. GameStop. Can't stop, won't stop, GameStop. I'll see you around, millionaires. Peace.